started last week talking about the wives and understanding the significance of why you're here. How do I be that help me that I'm supposed to be? Ask him what he needs. He'll be okay with what he tells you. Get to know your husband. Get to know your husband. As men, we're kind of simple. I have something set before me, and my whole objective is to put it in order, to get it to flowing smoothly, to have it under control. It doesn't matter how many other great things come down the pipe. I'm not interested in adding anything else to my plate. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Well, because I don't want to take the chance, even though it may look harmless. When you bring on anything into your life, there are things that come with it, whether you recognize it or not. So rather than add more, I know what I have. I know what I'm responsible for. I've kind of got it kind of in order. We got a little piece going on. Things kind of going in the way it needs to go. Don't bring me nothing else. Don't bring me no more great ideas. Don't bring me nothing else to help what I got, because what we got to work if we stick to the task. So, how should you help your husband? You're a helper, right? You need to know what the one that's in charge needs help with. Don't come to him and say, you ever thought about doing this? That's a no-brainer, right? Because if he had thought about it, he would have mentioned it, right? And if he thought it was worth mentioning it, he would have mentioned it, right? But can you trust that? Your job is a help me. That means you ask for instructions, you don't give directions. God has created a magnificent plan and order, regardless of how it looks. It works perfectly. But so many times we're not allowing the things of God to take hold in our lives so they can do what they're supposed to do. Because usually we put something else in place. What we're going to talk about today, as we're talking about the marriage, right? When the husband gets married, he represents a new phase of responsibility in his life. And the scripture talks about what God has joined together, that no man tear asunder. And this responsibility in this life speaks of a permanent and indissoluble union, so that divorce is not considered an option. And these are the things that the world has tried to make look like their options. The test drive, if you don't like it, go turn it in and get another one. It's not a car. It's a relationship that you're supposed to be building. As husbands, you have to understand that you're supposed to be making this world a better place. And God went inside Adam and got what he needed. He gave Adam all the resources, and then he said, go out and find something to do with it. Because it's in you. It's in you. The marriage was established as a reflection of the union between Christ and the church, which was not understood until the New Testament. And there's a lot of other things about the family, about our lives, that are being made clear during the New Testament. That's why we have to understand that our pursuit has to be the word of righteousness, because that's where you learn how to discern what's of God and what's not. And as we're growing in this walk, you're going to find yourself contradicting a lot of things that are already established, because people are not basing their decisions based on the standards of God, because the standards of God don't make sense in the eyes of most people if they're not practicing the word of righteousness. See, Satan understood that if I mess up the family, I take control of everything they do. You have to understand that if he can mess up you, he can mess up everything you do. So you have to ask yourself, do I want my children being like me? Do I want my children doing what I do? Because whether you realize or not, you are setting the blueprint. Because what we want to learn today, men as husbands, is how to really grab a hold of this thing and realize how responsible we are. Because we do say we wear the pants, right? We're the head of this vessel. You're supposed to submit to me, right? So now we're going to see today what you actually say. Everybody ready for that?
Yes.
You good, husband?
Yes.
Your mind's clear?
Yes.
Your heart's ready?
Yes.
We just show you what kind of pants you're actually wearing and see if you're meeting the bill. that good?
Yes, sir.
It's going to come from Colossians chapter 3, verse 19. Husbands, love your wives and do not be embittered against them. Simple command, right? Husbands, love your wives. But he adds on, don't be embittered against them. Why would he make such a statement? Don't be embittered against them. The objective is we want to understand from God's perspective what husbands loving their wives mean. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife. Did you find your wife or did your wife find you? But God says a man is supposed to find a wife. So ask yourself this question. If I tell you to go find something, what do you need to know to make sure you found what I told you to find? What do you need to know? You need to know what it looks like, right? So if a husband is looking for a wife, it ain't something that could become a wife. She's already a wife who needs a husband.
Yes.
So a husband has to know what kind of wife does he need to help him carry out his goals and objectives in life. Now, who taught you that as young men? Who taught you as a child to know what kind of wife you're supposed to look for? It's amazing. You may not have checked it out, but usually you get a replica of your parents.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
If you really look close at your wife, you may find some qualities of her, of your mother. I know they might have some of you wives shuddering when you think of such a thing. But look closer and objectively. Objectively is a qualifying word. With no influence, just see what you see. And you'll realize that you find yourself. They can't get it yet. Looking for someone like your parents. You hate authoritative fathers, but you're going to have an authoritative man that's going to make your life hard, but you still ain't realize you're supposed to submit. And he's going to finish the job that daddy started. Oh yeah, that's real now, that's real. Because once God starts it, he completes it. He created you to operate in a certain role. And your life is going to guarantee before you leave here, you do. That's what we have to understand. A wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Husbands, I want you to repeat after me. I have favor from the Lord.
I have favor from the Lord.
You're going to need it. Thank God you already got it, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to start to understand a little better what's going on. What's the goal? We want to learn what the proper display of love for the wife is. See this, fellas? This guy's hugging himself. He loves himself and all his flaws. And all his flaws, he loves himself. He treats himself good all the time. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it. Ephesians 5:28-29. So husband, the first thing you need to understand about loving your wife, you need to be nourishing her, cherishing her. Nourishing your wife. She's like a garden, she's like a plant. You're constantly doing what you need to do to bring out the best in her. To bring out the best in her. So, love your wife, he says. The husband has the supreme responsibility to love his wife with the same unreserved, selfless, and sacrificial love that Christ has for his church. Christ gave everything he had, including his life, for the sake of the church, and that is the standard of sacrifice for a husband's love for his wife. Point is, you can't be holding back your love for your wife, brothers, as a husband. This is what you're supposed to be teaching your young boys. Your young boys at home are supposed to be making these same kind of sacrifices for the family. They're supposed to be watching the love that you show for your wife. Because one thing your children need is to know that mom and daddy are good and they're going to be together forever. That's what children need to know. You must not hold back your love for your wife. Now, how did Christ love the church? When the church got right, he says, while we were yet without power, without strength, while we were still enemies, Christ died for us, right? So husbands, realizing that when you get married, we know that there's a natural tendency and a conflict between male and female. That's natural. You don't have to work for that. That just happens. There's a natural assumption on the woman that she's smarter than the man. Our society teaches that, right? Behind every great man, there is a woman. And if you want to see the man in charge, see the woman. And it's been a great setup because Satan's number one role was to take the father out of the family. And a lot of times, if you tell mama something, and she tell you go tell daddy, if your daddy's being the daddy, he's supposed to be, what's your response? Well, man, I know what the answer is there. Right? That's why he's a bad guy, right? That's why you're constantly trying to work mama and daddy against each other, right? Because you believe because of the compassion that she has and the love that she has for you, you're more susceptible to get it from mama than you are for daddy. Husband must not be harsh or angrily resentful toward their wives. We're trying to figure out how do we love our wives without being embittered against them, being harsh or angrily resentful toward their wives. Now, husbands, I want you to really start thinking now in your marriage relationship. Because a lot of times, because women don't really know men, they constantly do things that disrespect you and what you stand for and don't even realize they're doing it. Because what it does, it hurts you. Have any of you as husbands been hurt by your wife? Don't raise your hand on the record. Just think about that. In case you haven't had that conversation to let them know. Because they know what they're going to ask you as soon as you get up. Where did I hurt you? Probably not going to be equipped to carry that conversation all the way out.
Appreciate that.
So let's not even raise our heads, right? This is amazing. I want you to think about it, right? And this is usually the result of not getting something you want. James 4:1-3. Where does quarrels and fightings come from among you? They come because you want something that you're not getting. And you don't have it because you want it for the wrong reason. You use it on your own desires. You say you don't get it, so you fuss and you fight. And that's the bottom line. If you struggle in any kind of relationship, it's because you want something that you're not getting. See to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, and by it many be defiled. I read this article on bitterness, right? I want to share it with you. It's by Leon L. Seltzer, PhD. It said all bitterness starts out as hurt. And your emotional pain will cause you to view whomever hurt you as having malicious intent without good reason. Anger and its first cousin, resentment, is what we are all likely to experience whenever we believe that someone has seriously abused us. Left to fester, that righteous anger eventually becomes the corrosive ulcer that is bitterness. Bitterness is a chronic and pervasive state of smoldering resentment, one of the most destructive and toxic of human emotions. If we repeatedly think deeply about how we've been victimized, eventually it will define some essential part of who we are. So we'll end up becoming victims, principally of ourselves. The cost of bitterness. Prolong your mental and emotional pain and may even make it worse. Lead to long-lasting anxiety or depression. Precipitate vengeful or even violent acts that put you at further risk for being hurt or victimized, and possibly engulf you in a never-ending self-defeating cycle of getting even. prevent you from experiencing the potential joys of living fully in the presence, versus dwelling self-righteously on the past wrongs inflicted you. This is those stories you keep playing with your mind about the person that you have that has wronged you. I know y'all don't know nothing about this. But once you feel that someone has done you wrong and you believe they've done it intentionally for no reason, you constantly start playing it back because now you're looking for proof to continue to solidify, justify why you have a good reason for treating them the way you do. I want you to think about what you're hearing now and really evaluate yourself as you start to look at the people in your life. It creates a deepened attitude of distrust and belief that people are motivated purely by self-interest, skepticism, qualities that contribute to hostility and paranoid thinking, futility and unhappiness, as well as a tendency to see the worst aspect of things. Think about that now. As you're growing in your relationship with God, and you're being taught that you're supposed to be deeply and strengthening relationships, you gotta check yourself and ask who's hurt you in your mind. Because as you have to see the changes that have to be made to make these relationships work, it's going to play back in your mind what they did and how they're going to escape, how they're going to respond to this, because I know this is what's going to happen. See, that's bitterness. That's bitterness. Ain't nothing intelligent about it. It's bitterness. And it's preventing the relationship from even taking off. Because you're suspicious now. You're skeptic. Yes, yeah, I know, I don't want to hear that. You heard it before. But you forgot. How many times you supposed to forgive? And what are you supposed to do with it?
Forget.
See, if you did the right thing the first time, how many things should you have to forgive?
That's one.
Once, right? Because you forgot it. But see, these are the things you have to really understand, men especially, because you don't do a lot of talking. You internalize a lot of stuff. And that's why you have to be able to communicate and tell people who you are and what you stand for. If I tell you I don't like black apples, and you keep bringing me black apples, I know for certain you have no respect for me and my life or dislike of black apples.
Yeah.
Now, regardless of how great you think black apples might be for me, if I would just give it a chance, you are totally disrespecting me once I tell you where I stand with you. And so many times we think that we're put here to make people better by training them to like things and see things as we do. God only made one of you. He made one of you for a reason. One is enough. One is enough. So we allow these tendencies to grow. Moreover, such a bleak negative perspective prompts others to turn away from you. Sometimes, wives, that's why your husband don't want to talk to you. Because he's got to constantly prove himself or explain something to you when you were just supposed to accept. He's learned sometimes that not talking to you is the best way to keep peace now. Because you have to learn how to respect who he is. You're married. It's too late now. It's too late. You just got to accept it. That's what I got. And I'm going to make the best of it. Just like it is. And I'm going to make the best of it by letting it be what it is and help it be the best that it can be. Man, you need to understand this because you've been called the head. You have a tendency to want to exert your force. You're quiet, and it take you to a place where, I told you one time, I ain't telling you no more. Don't keep asking me the same thing over and over again. Just do it because I said so. And we're good for that. Then it's over. I am not your child, first of all. But it also interferes with your cultivating healthy, satisfying relationships. And leads you to doubt or devalue your connection to others. Think about that. When someone is hurt you and you can't really see it, it doesn't matter how much they try to make up with you. Tell the truth. Yeah, I've heard that before. You know what? I really want to do better. Yeah, I know. Because you just believe without a doubt that they out to get you. And you cannot drop your guards, but trust me, because they're trying to fool you. They're just trying to fool me so they can set me up again. I ain't falling for that no more. You won't hurt me no more. That door is closed. Right? Then another said, why do I need to keep saying I love them when they keep telling me I don't? Right? Why do I need to tell them I know when they keep believing I don't know? Why do I need to keep telling them I understand when they keep telling me you don't understand? Well, I understand what you said, no you don't. But they like it was that complicated, but you don't understand. Tell me what it is. that ain't what I was talking about. Thank God you don't have to. But it don't make sense. Don't you think God would have told you a little clearer? If God was with you? Well, did you talk to God about it? Well, I mean, they had to talk to God. See, that's your problem right there. Why did you talk to God? Because He's leading me. I don't have to talk to Him. He just leads me. So the thoughts are the ones He gives me. Because it's His job. He know I don't know. He know His job is to lead me. I believe that He leads me. You don't believe that He leads me because it don't look like you would lead me, right? Isn't that right? Come on, tell the truth. What told you that He wasn't supposed to do it like that? What? What told you He didn't respond right? This attitude can cause you to compromise or weaken your higher ideals and adversely impact your personal search for purpose and meaning in life. That's what you have to be concerned about meaning. Your role as a husband comes with high ideals that you must sustain and stay firm to. You cannot allow anything or anyone to cause you to lower your ideals and your standards, because you are required to take what you've been given and build this family like Christ built the church. Like He put the things in place so that the church could become the church that it needs to become. He had high standards that He did not lower. It also will rob you of your vital energy, which could be better used to realize your desires and your obligations to achieve the goals that God has called you to achieve. You have to know what it is you're doing. You have to know what it takes to get there. You have to realize your instructions are supposed to come from one place. This is the thing that the wife struggles with. You are supposed to be getting your instructions from God. You are then supposed to pass those instructions down to your wife. She's supposed to take those instructions and communicate them clearly to the children so that everybody is on the same page. Not prove that your instructions came from God. Don't do that no more. Your wife don't want to hear it, tell her talk to God. Because that's all He gave you. And I'm going to stop proving to you that I have a relationship with God. I'm going to stop proving to you that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to stop proving to you that you can trust me. I no longer give you the permission to say it's okay for me to be the husband. This is what you have to do, husbands. Because this is going to bring everybody to the place where they need to be. Now, what comes with that is this. You now understand that you are totally responsible for what's going on. Because if you don't, you'll start to mess with your health because you become embittered. You don't feel, what's the word I want to use? Valuable. Because you allow your value to be determined how your wife sees you or how the world sees you based on what you do or do not do. Your value is based on who you are and what you can be to make your life a better place for you and those that are in it. You have the answer, they don't. That's what we have to understand, people. That's what you have to understand. That's God's plan. That's how He did things. Because bitterness can raise your stress, baseline, thereby taxing or overloading your immune system, sick, issues, blind you from recognizing your own role or responsibility. Remember, when you become embittered, you can't see your role clearly. Then when you become embittered, you can't see your role clearly. So everybody takes it upon themselves to try to figure out how to move forward. What we need to do. What do I need to do? You need to ask your husband what he wants you to do. And if he hasn't asked you to do anything, go for a certain. All you need to do is keep doing the last thing he told you to do. Just like we have to do with God. Because there will come times when you may think that you're supposed to be doing something when God hasn't told you to do a thing. That's because of that fallen nature where Satan programmed you to think you're supposed to be working for a living, working to make things happen. You're supposed to be coming so that things can happen. What can I become? This brings us to this principle. You must love your wife without expectations, brothers. Remember, you husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with someone weaker, since she is a woman. If they are the weaker vessel, what should you be expecting from them? What could you expect from them? Now, based on what the world has taught us women, isn't that an insult? For someone to sit in public and just say that the woman is the weaker vessel compared to the man. And the man is supposed to live with her with an understanding. Fellas, how many girls and women just lead you around by the nose and you just don't have a clue what's going on? It all starts at childhood. Who leads and who calls the shots? It's all part of Satan's scheme. We've raised a generation of people that were not raised with their father. That was all planned by Satan, people. To get the man out of the family. Guess what happens when you take the head off of something? It eventually dies, doesn't it? Where does the vision for the family supposed to come from? From the head. What does God say about people without a vision? Without a vision, the people perish. Our families are perishing because there is no head. So what do you need? Look at your relationship. What do you need to be to make it a better relationship? As you look at the husband, as you look at your wife, as she deals with you, what do you need to be to make that a better relationship? In what you're doing, what do you need to be to make it better? She's the weaker vessel, right? He says, understand it. I understand that she's a weaker vessel. I understand my part in this relationship and the authority that comes with my role so that I don't have to get overly concerned about whatever she does, believes, says, or thinks. Like I said, Eve could ate all she wanted, right? How can you be a blessing to your wife to make her better even though she's perfect? What can you do? As men, we must always remember that everything we need for a great life is inside of us. When the man needed a wife, God got the wife out of the man. He wanted the man to go out and subdue and be fruitful and conquer the world. He didn't give him nothing to go with but himself. He said, I gave you a mind. I gave you understanding. Figure it out. Because, man, you can figure it out if you mess with it a while, right? If you weren't in such a hurry to have to give the answer, don't you usually come up with what they say? And usually you're told it's too late now. It don't matter. I've been already took care of that. See, that's not good, and you're not creating what the Lord wants you to create. We must always remember that everything we need for a great life is inside us. That is why we must go into every situation seeking to be a blessing by making things and people better. God put us here to cultivate and to keep. You're supposed to be cultivating your wife without no expectations. What do you believe you need from your wife to be a better husband? Whatever it is, scrap it. Scrap it. Everything that you need to be what you need to be for your wife, your family, and the world is inside of you, husbands. But what has the world tried to make us believe? Ain't nothing else but junk, right? Foolishness. Don't even have a clue what's going on. Just because how we do things, right? Because it requires a great commitment to do it the way you want to do it. Doesn't it? Sometimes it feels like it's too much for them. They act like it's too much for them sometimes, right? But guess what? You know for a fact, it won't kill them. When it's over, when the product is done, it will be what they need to be who God has called them to be. He said he put the man in the garden to cultivate it and to keep it. That's your role in God's creation, man. You ought to cultivate and to keep. You ought to cultivate and to keep. So what must I do based on how my wife is strong? What must I do to be what she needs to do her role properly? Look at Numbers 30, 1 through 15. Because you got to keep in mind, yes, I am the head, but I am not the ruler. God did not call me to lord it over my wife. Numbers 30, 1 through 15. You need to understand the power that you have as a husband and as a father over those that are in your world. So you can do your role and be confident that it's going to do what it's supposed to do. Numbers 31 through 15 it says, Then Moses spoke to the heads, I'm going to start at verse, Then Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the sons of Israel, saying, This is the word which the Lord has commanded. If a man makes a vow to the Lord, or takes an oath to bind himself with a binding obligation, he shall not violate his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. Also, if a woman makes a vow to the Lord and binds herself by an obligation in her father's house, in her youth, and her father hears her vow and her obligation by which she was bound herself, which she has bound herself, and her father says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every obligation by which she has bound herself shall stand. Father, you hear that? If you got a daughter that makes a vow in your house, and a vow is a promise or commitment, because whenever you make that, you make it to God. He said, if you have a daughter that you're making these kind of vows and commitments about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, you have the power to change that. Look what he says. And if the father says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every obligation by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father should forbid her on the day he hears of it, none of her vows or obligations by which she has bound herself shall stand. And the Lord will forgive her because her father had forbidden her. See all that crazy talk you hear your dogs making? You just say, no, I forbid that. I forbid your life to be like that. I forbid it. Ain't gonna happen. Things happen in the spirit realm to make sure it don't. Now, how many times you guys say that you right?
One time.
One time.
Oh my goodness.
See why you don't need to be out there to say husband. So what's the fight? Because what do you need to become to engage that? If I know I have the power that whatever you say, I can avoid it, I become a peacemaker. The enemy wants war here. I want peace.
Oh wow. All right then.
I need to become something here. Because I know what the enemy wants me to become. He wants to fight. I'm a peacemaker. Young ladies, as long as you're in your father's house, you have no power to generate nothing in your life as long as you're under his household. Through the power that he has in God to mark out your foolish vows, your foolish commitments that you're making to yourself and to God. Because once you put it out there, you're obligated to it. But see, men, the enemy don't want us to know we have this power. Go on and says, but if her father should forbid her on the day he hears of it, none of her vows or her obligations by which she has bound herself shall stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father had forbidden her. However, if she should marry while under her vows, or the rash statement of her lips by which she had bound herself, and her husband hears of it and says nothing to her on the day he hears it, then her vows shall stand, and her obligation by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if on the day her husband hears of it, he forbids her, then he shall annul her vow which she has under, and the rash statement of her lips by which she has bound herself, and the Lord will forgive her. What do you need to become, husbands? It doesn't matter what your wife say. She gonna do what she believe ought to be, how she believes she ought to be. All you got to do is come out of your mouth and say, look, I don't agree with that. I don't accept it. It's not going to be a part of this family. And that's it. Wow, how simple is that, guys? You ain't got to sit there and explain 10,000 reasons why it ain't a good idea. You just take authority in the spirit realm. Because you are responsible. How can you be responsible if you can't control it? This is the thing. You don't have to control anybody or try to make anybody do anything. Give everybody the freedom to do whatever they want to do. But let everybody know and understand, I am not in agreement with that. I'm not in agreement with it. See, we can't make our wives do anything. We can't make our wives understand anything. But I can guarantee their protection. I can guarantee their deliverance. Because I understand the power that I have. See, because they shouldn't hinder your progress in what you do if you're following God's way of doing things. We're not put here to rule any man. He told us to rule over the animals, the fish, the stuff in the sea. It's about free will. You got to give your wives free will, but you got to know what you're going to do. Come on, how much argument would that take out? But this is what we're going to do. And I don't say you don't listen. You listen. But understand your instructions does not come from your wife. Yeah, it doesn't. God just don't work that way. You can get confirmation on something He's told you, but you don't get your instructions from your wife. That's what you got to know. Because God has called you to do it a certain way based on how you feel. Because most of your wives think you need fixing. How can you be effective if you're trying to be made something that you're not? You're trying to think and be ways that you can't be. This is the way I'm made. God can use me like this. But God, I have to have enough confidence in who I am and realize that everything I need is inside of me. It's inside of you guys. The woman came out of you. She's your glory. You're the glory of God. You have the mind of Christ. You're supposed to be running things. You're supposed to be in charge of things. You think God will put you in that position and not tell you how to do it? It's not supposed to look good to everybody. It's designed to change everybody in your world. My way of doing things is to change you, not to keep you where you are, to bring you to this place. That's what your role is. That's why you have to, when you're looking for a wife, you have to find a helpmate that's suitable to you. Can't be based on how she look, how she smell, what kind of money they got. You have to know what kind of life that you are about, what it takes to carry it out, and what kind of support you're going to need. Unfortunately, we married without those stipulations in place. Thank God we meet the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and He gives us instructions on how it's supposed to be. Love your wife as the weaker vessel. Wow, you have to understand, you are the weaker vessel regardless of how smart you think you are. This has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with being available to God. And you can only be available to God when you are totally submissive to God's way of doing things. Now, husband, this comes with great responsibility because now you got to treat your wife and do what you need to do just like Christ did. I don't have to be bent out of shape how my wife is because I'm going to make sure she stay covered. I have authority because she's part of my body. Anything I see her doing, see her thinking or saying, I have the authority to go to God, rebuke Satan, and take authority because she's part of my body. That's what makes it happen. The thing is, it takes time because the enemy believes he can wear you down. He believes that you may have your value based on how well is what I'm doing looking. It's not about how it's looking. It's how well you continue to be. I know the authority that I have in my household. I don't have to prove it. I don't have to preach it. I just be it. I know what I will receive. I know what I won't receive. I know I get my instructions from God. I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be held accountable, not my wife. My wife's free to do whatever she wants to do. If she wants to line up with what I'm doing, fine. If not, that's fine. But it's still going to be okay because I'm going to make sure I keep her covered. Because this is what was given to me. I have to know how to take care of it, whether she knows how to or not. That's what you have to understand. I'm not going to fight about it. And we won't have any kind of arguments about it. The only time we will have a conflict if you continually coming to me questioning why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I will continue to tell the same thing. And it's not going to be an argument for me. You're going to get upset because you believe I don't want to hear nothing nobody else has to say. I think I know it all. And it's never going to be a problem unless you are now complaining about something I'm doing or not doing. That I know for a fact. Because I don't need to start an argument or prove that what I'm doing is right. Because I know time will reveal the truth about whose belief is what. That's what I know. I stand here confident before you do. I know and believe that everything that I believe, everything I do based on the Word of God is working. It's working. It is producing what it's supposed to produce, just like God said. Why would I keep trying to prove it when I got proof? My question is, where's your proof? That what you do, what you believe, works. Is it working for you? Is it working for you? If it's not working for you, what makes you think it would work for me? Man, you got to know these things. You're responsible for the direction of your family, not your wife. You have resources at your disposal that will guarantee that God will produce what He said He will produce. You don't have to prove it. You don't even have to explain it. As the head, you are to tell your people how things ought to go. Now, I'm not saying wife, you don't get anything to say. You get the opportunity to share what you want to share when He shares with you what He wants to do. He gets to decide whether that's acceptable or not. He don't need to prove to you why He don't accept it. He just knows it doesn't line up with what God has told Him to do and how He's supposed to do it. That's what makes it work. That's what takes us to the full level, because it now frees everybody, and everybody now has total access by God to be used. Where you think you're supposed to be going might not be where God is trying to take you. That's one of the biggest problems. God created you for His purpose, not your own. Our job as the husband, as the head, is to know what we're supposed to do. We get that direction from God. That's why you must have a relationship with God. Husband, if you told your wife what you're going to do, and she comes up with some great idea, don't just tell her go ahead and do what you want to do. Because now you set her up for failure. And now there's division. Because you already know you don't like that. Why do you have to come back and ask me when I've already told you? You believe I make decisions without enough information? Are you serious? These people are responsible for me. I'm responsible for these people. You think I just lackadaisically walk through life and not really considering my actions and my behavior to see how it's going to impact all of those that are involved? Well, I'm just so busy thinking about myself. I don't think about nobody else. Is that what you believe? Well, that's not the way man works with women. It may seem like that to you, and they may have been programmed to act like that, but that's not where they are in their heart. Because they've been programmed that they need somebody to agree with them and see what they are saying and accept it before they can have the confidence in who they are. I don't need that. I don't need that. No man should need that. Because God, you are the source. You are the source for this world being a better place. Your wife is a resource to help you in that process. She's not your guide. She's your support. Now, you got to be man enough to accept whatever consequences come with the way you do things. The way I do things, yeah, it took us on a long journey. It took us on a journey of struggle. But I would never have learned what I needed to learn if I didn't go the way God had built me to go. I stand here now as proof with time in that it was all God's plan. It was not the result of bad decisions. It was based on the decision that I made. Like I shared it, Lord, I don't want nothing else from the world. I don't want the world to give me nothing. I'm putting my total trust and faith in you to provide for me. I made that vow 34 years ago. And God took me on the journey that was necessary for me to get to this place, to show that I was faithful, to show that I meant it, to show that I would stay with it by all the stuff he took me through, lacking all the stuff that you get up and go to work for every day. Even the relationships where you want the people in your world to believe in you, to accept you that you're doing the right thing, but having to go through so much struggle through the process. When are you going to break down and do something to satisfy what they need to make it happen? Well, I just ain't going to do it this way. I'm going to do what I want to do. Go right ahead, baby. Hey, I can't make it. But it works. I don't stand before anyone anymore trying to prove who I am because I understand the danger of it. I understand the danger for those that I'm responsible with leading you all. I had that problem. Remember the first time we came here? First time I showed y'all this building? Now we were actually at the fish market, right? About the size of that size right there. We came there to look at this. There was over half you couldn't see that was a good idea. And that was a terrifying thing for me because I'm going to say, we got to get it together. What did I see that they couldn't see? It's more space, number one. I mean, number, it's just more space. You couldn't see that. And I decided, you know what? They don't see it. I won't do it. God beat me up after that. I said, God, if I ever get the chance again, I got it. I used to sit uptown on Main Street after that, just like, Lord, what am I doing? Have I missed it on this, Lord? Have I missed it? Because I needed you all to believe you could trust me.
Yeah.
I needed you all to believe that God was leading me. And I based it on whether you could see it or not. I said, you know what, Lord, if I ever get the chance again, I got the chance again, and we got it for less money. But after that, you all, that was done. That was done. I do what I need to do, what God has told me to do, the way God has told me to do it. That's what I do. I made the changes here because of what it's supposed to look like and how it was looking. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. I know the change would take us to where it is we're trying to go. I got proof that it works. You see what I'm saying? But look at the decision. I no longer needed you all to believe that I was being led by God. I even knew that if all of you all left, God was sending the ones that I needed to follow what he's called me to do, the way he's called me to do it. And if that meant getting rid of all of you all, hey, I was okay with that. So that's what I thought. Look, if everybody leave, I'm cool with that. Because I know you told me to do this, but I also know this. You will send me what I need. Because I'm responsible for what goes on here. I'm responsible for your souls. You don't have to like how God used me to deal with you, but that's not why he used me to do it. He uses me to do it so it'll help deliver you. So I can be a benefit to you. So I can show, so you can see God for yourself when you follow the counsel, when you follow the instructions. Or you can even see it when you don't follow. You can see the proof, the results of not following. See, time will tell the truth in what you believe. You give all the lip service you want. Wives will give all the lip service they want. The bottom line is what's working. What makes this house a better place? What makes this house a better place? What do I need to become? Right? First, I'm understanding. I understand because you're the weaker vessel. You are prone to deception by the enemy. That's just the way it is, ladies. But I will receive what you have to say. And I weigh it based on the principles and characteristics of God. I will determine whether what you're sharing me is based on some emotion or some desire, or if it comes from the Word of God. This is the only thing I got to keep me straight. So I know that regardless of what my wife said, I got the power to just erase that and move on. Because of authority. That's what I mean about being able to sit at the spiritual table. To recognize and be recognized that you are in line with God. Because at the end of the day, who's going to be responsible? When things going bad, who they talking to? When things going well, who they talking about? We. Me. And they make it clear when something was wrong that you did. You broke that. You did that. You didn't do this. So if you want to have to take responsibility, hey, do it how you going to be okay with it. Because you and I know that we know we did the best that we know and it don't work. What do we know about the next move?
Won't do that again.
You won't get me on that one no more that way. I know whatever told me to do it that way, I know I won't do that again. So that's one out of the way. At least that's one I ain't got to worry about no more. But if you never find out, they never go nowhere, do they? And they wait for that opportune moment. That's why you have to have the proper help meeting. That's why you have to train your young boys on what the wife needs to look like for them. But you have to know your young boys and how they've been and what they're going to need to be successful in life. They have to know what kind of character the woman has to have. You know? We weren't trained in that. Thank God he's trained us in this. Now, you the head, you're responsible, and you got to be just like Christ. What are you going to have to die to do this? You got to stop being needed. I don't need anything from my wife. I don't need anything from my wife because she needs me to be who I am so she can be who she's supposed to be as my wife. It's going to cause you to have to overcome a lot of things. And it don't necessarily happen easy. But that's the mission. And I tell you, with time, it works. But you have to constantly be searching your heart, man. What is it that my wife does that causes me to feel hurt? Well, those are the things that are going to lead to being embittered if you don't deal with them. And I said, why did it hurt me? What did you need from her so that you wouldn't be hurt? What did you need? Did you need her to agree with you? You got to understand, you are the one. You have the resources. It's in you. It's not out there. You need to talk to God about helping you reveal what he's put in you to make this work. What do I need to become to be more like Jesus in each situation so that regardless of how these people in my world act, I can respond like Jesus and give them the proper thing they need to grow. You get that, fellas?
Yes.
Y'all get that, fellas?
Yes.
I need some bass. You can bass today. Y'all get that, fellas?
Yes.
So what are you going to do with it? See, this is how we fix the world, people. You got to fix the family. You got to first fix yourself. And the only way you do that is be able to trust God. Have confidence in who you are. What is the end of the whole story? Husbands, you need to give the people in your world free will. Stop trying to make them, but make sure they clearly understand the consequences of their behaviors. So as they move on in life, they can look back and the Lord will let them remember. Remember when you were told this? You didn't do it? Then you decided to do this? This is how it turned out. But this is why. So that's what God does. Because you spend all your time trying to prove to people, you will never move. This is a lot at stake in it. Well, you're responsible. Give them free will. Stop trying to make your people do anything. Trust me. Time is going to make the whole picture clear. Time will do it. Time will do it, y'all. Time will do it. Okay, how bad they are. How tough it is. Time will fix it. But husbands, you are the head. Everything you need is inside of you. Your wife, your children, everything else are just other resources that God has given you to carry out the plan that he's given you. She is not your instructor. She is your helper. That as you start going about doing what God has called you to do, she's supposed to be willingly submitting to helping you accomplish that. Not telling you that don't make no sense. If he tells you that don't make no sense, you know right off top she's not in line with God. So ain't no need to follow that. that ain't gonna work. Well, you know that ain't from God, because we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Until I give God something to work with, I will never know how great He is. It ain't a bad job, God, I'm telling you. You know, just take it along with it. You will have peace at the end of the day. You'll be able to lay your head on your pillow and say, you know what? Ain't nobody happy with me, but I'm happy. It's going to be all right. Because I know when this thing work out, they're going to be happy. See, I know that. See, you know, my world's a happy world, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's been confessed to me a few times. Yeah, I got a great life, you know, but you know, okay. We do have a great life. But you have free will to do whatever you want to do. And life is still good. And the world that God has used me to create is not a bad world to be in. But that takes time and actually working to make it happen. And you got to stay to the task, regardless of how it looks. You have to learn that some things you ain't gonna be able to explain. You got to be quiet, keep doing what you do, and let it unfold. Just stay to the task, knowing that if I stay at it, it's going to unfold, and at the end, everybody will be happy. Listen to music, and we will think about what's good.